And you know what? It's because you know what? I do wonder how do we unify as a people when there's so many differences in belief systems, and because so much of our history has been tampered with, it's difficult for certain individuals to grasp and to hold on to any type of um, traditions, or what I would say, like the Quran or the Bible. Like, so what about the Bible of today's time? Is the Bible of today's time relevant compared to, to what you study as far as the Israelites, and how, I don't know, the Torah, or what the book is called per se, that the Israelites study from. So my
All right.
question is, like, for Christians, how do Muslims and Christian, how do we put it all together? Because it's always feel like there's a connection, like Brother King Simon, you was just saying, and there's also this grand disconnection.
Mhm.
And I'm just kind of like at a loss right now, because I'm like, okay, um, I don't believe that Jesus is real. That's my personal thing. I don't believe Jesus is real, but I don't know. But because there's so much going on, and so many differences, I don't know what to believe in. I just know that all I believe in is that there's a Most High, and that we're here for a purpose, and that each of us have our own unique way of connecting with the Most High, and that there is no religion. The only true religion to me is just listening to your inner voice, but that may not be the case.
Mm.
So, like, how do you know for sure when certain things, and in the American Bibles, is, if they make Jesus and certain prophets seem like an allegory, like they were just something, just a figure, just something, like they connected, like, for example, they connect Isa or Jesus to the sun. They said he's really the sun. He's not a person, and all the zodiacs, and the 12 disciples is really the zodiacs, and so it's like, how much is that is true, and like, I don't get it. Just help me figure. Just please help
Okay.
me.
I'm gonna definitely help you. I'm gonna answer your questions in reverse order. You first spoke of how can the different groups work together? Muslims, Christians, Hebrews,
Mhm.
people of the Kemetic faith, right?
Mhm.
And I say the Garvey way, right? The Garvey way. Garvey said, "One God, one aim, one destiny."
Mhm.
Regardless of who we call God or the Most High, we all believe that there is a greater power that exists outside of us, of which we also partake of. So we are that
Right.
God that we are looking for as well, right? And the way that we achieve unity is not to focus on the fickle differences, right? My dad used to always say to me, great minds see commonality while small minds see differences, right? I'm able to sit in a community with grandmaster teachers of many different faiths, even though normally people like us would be at odds. However, our mind is in a much greater space. So we don't need to talk about, converse, or be worried or concerned about that which divides, right? Or pushes us further apart, right? But the thing about having a great mind is that a great mind, the first thing that it focuses on are the things that we have in common, right? What are those morals? What are those principles? What are those virtues that bind Black people and the human experience moreover, so that we can have a healthy social existence with one another in this realm that we're calling Earth or physical existence, right? How do we achieve that? The first
Right.
way that we achieve that is that we first understand that there is a moral code that we all should follow, right? And it doesn't matter that you have 30 more uh, chapters in your moral code and this person has 30 less. All we need to know is that you have morality, because morality must be at the base of any organizing. Because can you imagine talking about building economically with people who have no moral fiber? So
No.
the thing that is prerequisite for us to have unity and to unify is, in the words of Marcus Garvey, one God, one aim, one destiny, right? So that's the easiest part of your question, right? The other parts to your question is a little bit more complex, right? You asked the question, is the Bible even relevant today? To which I say to you, I'm troubled by that question. And I know that you may not just be asking the question for your own sake, but you as an interviewer, you're representing the opinions of a global audience. So you are speaking for the masses because you know that there's a great deal of people who have that question. Is the Bible relevant? So I have to say to you that, to me, it's sad hearing it, but I will address it by saying this to you. Not only is it relevant, but if you are astute in its foundational story, you would know that it is a custodian of African spirituality. Hence why Dr. John Henry Clarke says, do not throw away the Bible. And he tells you that the stories in the Bible are a custodian, as it were, gatekeepers, as it were, preserving African spirituality, right? So the Bible, in its right knowledge, is perfectly about African spirituality. But if you're looking at it through a Eurocentric lens, then yes, I'm going to say to you, my sister, it is completely irrelevant for us. That's why we need to find our African spectacles when we are looking at African stories.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right?
That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I was really curious because, no, okay, go ahead.
If I could add this last point.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you're in doubt of whether or not Jesus existed. And I want to tell you something. Usually when a person says that they follow or believe in the Bible, what is usually a given for most is that Jesus comes with it. I want to remind you that I'm a Black Jew. And if you know anything about Jews, we reject Jesus. However, even though I came into a community that only followed the Old Testament and rejected the very notion that Jesus walked the earth, today I am no longer of that opinion because of my advanced studies. For instance, when you speak of someone being historical, right, one of the ways that we're able to, see them in the annals of history is not simply to look for a coffin and a body, because there's a lot of people in history that we don't have coffins or bodies for. In fact, the first 3 dynasties in Egypt, it's very hard to find coffins and bodies. But we know for a fact that those pharaohs, those kings, they lived and that they existed because we have so many inscriptions contemporary with them, recordation, people speaking about them in the era that they live in. So watch where things get interesting. To doubt that Jesus existed is very problematic because he is the most spoken about person in his era in history. There are more people speaking of him historically, contemporary with him, than any other figure that ever lived. So it becomes extremely problematic. Now, the question now is, accepting that he existed doesn't mean that you have to accept the stories told about him. Because I'm going to tell you right now, while I accept that Jesus, the historical Black man Jesus, lived and walked the earth, I will tell you that I deny most of the stories that are told about him in the Bible. So there's a difference between believing that someone who was usually regarded as mythical, there's a difference in believing that they existed versus also having to integrate everything said about them, right? So I believe that he existed, but that belief does not necessitate that I must accept everything told about him.
So there is a difference between historical Jesus and revelatory Jesus, the revelations that was revealed about
That's
him.
right. That's right. In fact, there's a book entitled The Historical Jesus and the Mythical Jesus.
And the mythical, yes, I know, yes. No,
Right?
makes sense.
Okay.
And,
You know,
and then the reason why I think for us as Black people, why his story is so impactful, remember, if you're familiar with the core details of his story, right? He is the archetype for supreme knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the greatest Black men to have ever walked the earth, which is why you find so many parallels of his story throughout the ages before he is even born, because the story is archetypical of the supreme knowledge and wisdom of our African ancestors, and he's just the latest version of it.
that's the latest
So
version.
not only should we, not be so fast to throw it away, but you have to kind of stop, look, and consider the bigger picture, which is that he is the latest version of an African story that has been retold several times. Why would you want to separate yourself from that? White America has accepted his story. His story is that there is a Black man that is coming to bring redemption to the world. Even if I don't believe in Jesus, I can tell you as a real Black man, I want to hear more about that story.